8radio.com.
I'm not hearing anything. Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 505 on Racing Show. Welcome to another fun-filled evening of race talk. I had a good week. I hope everybody else did. I spent the weekend at Pocono, Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. We'll talk about that later on. And we have some talk about the Southern Modified Tour and something that went on in the Valenti Modified Racing Series, which somebody's going to need to explain to me because I don't understand what happened. And I looked in their rules, and what the series director told the competitor is in the rules, but, well, I don't want to steal any thunder. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. What I didn't want to talk about is several weeks ago, I just found out about this, that several weeks ago, Paul Deagle of Massapequa, Long Island, New York, passed away 1 month shy of his 85th birthday. He had moved to Florida in the 70s, raced on Long Island, Freeport, Islip, and all over the place. Paul was a true stock car driving legend on the island, according to Earl Krause in the Area Auto Racing News. For those of you who don't know who Paul Deagle is, he's the legendary Billy Spade modified driver, drove the 15X all over Long Island. I remember watching him race when I was just a little kid back, I'm going to say in the 60s. In the 60s, early 70s, and I remember his modified, and it said Bill Spade across the roof. It was one of the nicer looking modifieds. I think it was a coach that he drove back then in the era of the coupes and the sedans and whatnot back in the day. But Billy Spade passed away. Another racing legend leaves us. He was 85 years old. And I'll tell you what, back, it's got to be over 40 years ago that I watched him race. More than that, 45 years ago. And I guess he was in his 40s then. So he drove in the 50s and the 60s and into the 70s. So he'll be missed by the racing community and his family. Our prayers go out to him. Before I forget, the fire department drill team had a Nassau Suffolk drill this past weekend. Central Islip was the winner. It was held in CI. West Hempstead was second, North Lindenhurst third, West Sable fourth, and Islip rounding out the top five. This Saturday in Hempstead, it'll be the Hempstead Invitational. Just take exit 20 off the Southern State, and it's right there. So into that kind of thing, go check it out. And I'll tell you what, I say this all the time. I remember as a young boy growing up, my aunt and uncle taking me out to the fire department tournaments, and it was an all-day affair. You had the parade in the morning, and when the parade was over, the guys went back to wherever they had to go and switched their clothes into their race gear, and they went racing. And if you've never seen one of these things live and in person, check it out. You can also check it out with Long Island Need for Speed on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock in Woodbury Cable. You'll see some footage from that. Yeah, and yes, he did. WJ, it's good to see you here tonight. I hope you're feeling well. For those who know, WJ is going through some health issues right now, and we wish him well. And anytime we see him on, we know he's having a good day, so welcome. Yeah, I think the Gremlin came in the later years, I guess in the 70s, with Billy Spade, and I remember that vaguely at Islip. I didn't go to Freeport a lot, but I do remember the coach that he had, the 15X coach. I believe it was white with a blue top. But anyway, yeah, so the fire department stuff is very interesting. And I'll tell you what, I'm a thrill seeker, and I like to have a good time. And I'm into speed. I'm into jumping out of planes and driving 120 miles an hour down a straightaway at a wall and making a hard left and hoping that it sticks. But I'm not climbing on the back of what they call a C-rig, which is a modified fire truck that's faster than the modifieds that race on racetracks. Jump off with a ladder and climb, 30 feet into the air. That's not my thing. I'm just saying, boys and girls, it's not my thing. But anyway, it's one of those things. It's one of those things. I wanted to touch base on something that happened at the Pocono Raceway this past weekend, on Sunday, in fact. It's something that I saw that frightened me. And those of you who know me, there's not a lot that scares me. Kasey Kahne lost it coming off of turn 3. Remember, Pocono's only 3 turns. And it's turn 1, the tunnel turn, and turn 3. And he lost it coming off of turn 3, and he narrowly missed that wall. I mean, it's here, and I mean, there's barrels and stuff, but when you're hitting it at, 150 miles an hour, I don't care what's there, it's gonna hurt. He missed it by inches. I watched the replay from up top, and I watched the replay, and he just missed the barriers, and then he hit the wall with such force that the helmets, the pit crews have their helmets on the wall, the helmets that were on the wall went flying over the pit boxes, over the back, and against there's another wall behind them. And then Kasey Kahne bounced off of that and then hit the other wall. It took the track crew, they said it was gonna take 5-10 minutes on the radio, but it took a good 20 minutes to fix that, to make it safe again. And my question is this: why is that wall a straight piece? I know it's got barriers around it, whether they're sand or water, I don't know. I was told both when I asked the question. But why wouldn't that be configured to something that would be more of a glancing blow instead of, if he would have hit that, it would have ripped that car in half. Without a doubt in my mind, it would have ripped that car in half, and Kasey Kahne probably would be injured very badly, if not permanently. So when I saw that wreck and I'm watching, I'm like, they've had how many races at this racetrack that's never been an issue. And this is one of the things that I like and I don't like about NASCAR is they're very quick to fix something or change a rule after there's something like that. Why aren't they proactive with things like that? Why doesn't somebody, with all the races that these officials, and I don't mean the inspectors in the trailer that watch pit road or the guys who do tech, I'm talking about the higher ups and next who've come up through the ranks, whether they were drivers, crew members, team owners, weekly, touring, whatever it was, and they've gone through the ranks and nobody's taken a look and says, I don't think this is safe. We need to change this. And I have to question that. I have to question, why isn't that changed? Why did it wait to somebody who says, oh my God, this could have been tragic? No, so now by next year, mark my words, by next year you're gonna see a reconfiguration of that wall. And there should be a curve to it, in my opinion, so that it becomes, if they hit it, it's a glancing blow. And I'm not an engineer by any means, I'm a marketing guy. But it shouldn't be the way it is, and those sand / and or water barrels are not they're gonna slow them down a little bit. Let me tell you, you're going 130, 140, 150 miles an hour, it's just gonna slow you down a little bit. It might absorb some of the energy, but it's only gonna slow you down a little bit, and the force that he hit that wall, the pit wall, that the pit crews stand on and behind, to damage it such that it took 20 minutes to fix, tells me he hit it with such force that it wouldn't have been pretty. So, just saying, let's be a little more proactive. And I'm going to answer my own question. Why was that not addressed by the ranks going up? Because like with any organization, corporation, Fortune 500 company, they want soldiers. They want you to work as directed, not ask questions. They want you to just do your job. And nobody's going to be the guy that says, hey, I think that would be better if it was this way, that way, the other way. No, because they don't want to do that. Because they just don't want to do that. Because they want to be perfect soldiers. And I don't begrudge anybody that wants to be a perfect soldier. I don't. Yeah, but sometimes you have to, there has to be a sacrificial lamb sometimes. Let's draw straws. Let's see who's the guy that's going to do it. And I can remember the first tour race I ever worked at the Wall Stadium in Wall Township, New Jersey. And we walked the track, me and Bill Bryce, the old man, we walked the racetrack prior to, and they still had wood on the walls in some space. And we're walking around, and it was loose. And the pylon that was in the ground, that it was attached to, we went up to it, and I kid you not, we moved it this much. And the race almost didn't happen that day because until they fixed it, and they had to fix that. Now, somebody walked around, and we made a decision. Now, we weren't the most well-liked people by the staff at the Walls Stadium that day. Bill Bryce and myself, I was the race director, and he was the lead technical inspector. And that was his home track, technically his home track where he raced and officiated, and his son officiated, and his daughter officiated. So, he was well known there. And it was just the way it appeared. And, you could be close to the wall, and it was a piece of wood that came out that if you were going against the wall, that wood would catch a bumper, a Nerf bar, and rip the bars right off the car. So, getting back to this Pocono deal, I mean, look, the Mattioli family did a nice job with building that track and constructing it and the upgrades. It's very comfortable to watch a racing, and if you're high enough, you could see the tunnel turn. They're very careful not to have the buildings in the infield too high that you can't see that. The people sitting in the 100 section, you're not seeing that. You're not seeing out there. The people in the mid 200s and up and in the towers and in the suites, they're going to see the whole racetrack. So, just something to think about moving forward, that the racetrack addresses that, and with some guidance from the people at NASCAR, because NASCAR has engineers sitting down at the R&D center. I'm sure they can come up with something that's not this, that could literally split a car in half. And again, I'm not an engineer, but I'm sure if it was downed or came this way or came that way, there got to be a way to do it. And I'm thinking that's the way it could be. So Casey Kane was taken to the infield care center, treated and released. I'm sure he's a little bit sore. But the way these cars are built today, your body doesn't move in these race cars. Not like years ago. Your legs don't move, your arms don't move, your head doesn't move. Remember, my head stretched, this far when I hit the wall. With the Hans device, it doesn't do that. These new seats today, you don't move. So instead of your body jolting all over the place, race car parts go jolting and tear apart. So that's the way it is. And again, I hope that change is made. I would hate to see a tragedy over something like that. Just like when Kyle Busch hit the wall at Daytona, and they decided they needed to put a safer barrier. Why do we have to wait till somebody gets injured to make those changes? And a lot of the changes over NASCAR throughout the years since 1948 were made because of a tragedy. Window nets, when Richard Petty went flipping end over end over end, and if you ever saw that video, his arm is out the window doing this. There was no window net. Next thing you know, you have window nets. A piece came through a windshield, and all of a sudden they put a bar in the middle so nothing can go through. It's things like that not that they annoy me. I'm glad it's been addressed, and things over the years. But today's day and age, with engineers and computers, why does it have to come to that? Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we have some footage from the New London Waterford Speedway, a couple of interviews when they had the Nostalgia Night, and some of the people we talked to at the New London Waterford Speedway when we come back.
Hey, this is Chris Jake, and if InRavio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're a punch in the But if you have this bracelet from InRavio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hey, we're back. We are back. All right. A couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity with my crew to head out to the New London Waterford Speedboat. And, let me drop the mic. Right, guys? Ooh, I apologize. Let me start over. A couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to New London Waterford Speedboat and then talk to some people and watch some of the nostalgia racing. And I had, as I had said on last week's show, there were over 30 vintage modifieds there. They had 4 separate races for them, and they were racers. Let me tell you, they didn't just ride around. They raced, these guys. In fact, one of the guys actually crashed his race car going for the lead. I mean, I don't mean to laugh about it, but the guy was 70-something years old, 77 years old, and he was still motoring, you know. That hole was open, and he went for it, and it closed up real quick. Happens. That happens. So we have some footage from there, I believe. So we're gonna go right to that right now. Here we go.
InRavio.com.
This is Joe Ross with the 505 on Racing Show here at the New London Waterford Speedboat in Waterford, Connecticut. And we're here for a vintage modified show, and I'm sitting on an Earth bar of a car going to be driven tonight by Jim Allen. Jim, how you doing?
Doing very well tonight.
Now, from what I see, you guys take this racing serious.
We do. We're not out for blood and guts, and we're not getting paid anything. But there's pride, and there's busting rights here. So
An old-time driver once told me if you win during the week on a Saturday night, you brag all week. You win the last race of the year, you brag all winter. How does that feel?
that sounds good to me.
Now, where else do you guys run these cars?
Oh, we run them all over New England. We have on occasion run them in New York. We run Vermont, Maine, Mass, Connecticut, of course. The only New England state we don't run is Rhode Island, and that's because they don't have any tracks left anymore.
Now, some of these cars are the original, some of them are clones. What is this one?
This is a 67. I got this out of a junkyard. And took a lot of work to get it to right and to get it to fit, but we got it hung on here pretty good, and it looks pretty good, I think.
It looks very good. Jim, I want to thank you. Have fun tonight. That's what we're here for. Thanks for your time. I know you're busy trying to get ready, and I appreciate all your efforts to keeping the old cars alive. Alan, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us.
Oh, thank you for stopping by and saying hi. And I watch your show on the internet, and I'll be watching it Monday night.
I'll tell you what, you just gave me goosebumps because, you know, it's very rare that I go out of state and somebody says, I watch your show. Tell us a little bit about this car.
Well, this car is a remake of a car that my brother drove at Beechwood Speedway back in 1972. He won the Rookie of the Year with a car, with the original car. He ran it, you know, like I said, Rookie of the Year. He won quite a few races with it, and we ran a car for 2 years, and then we moved on to like the Bushnell racing. And he got put in the Hall of Fame 4 or 5 years ago in Maine, and we didn't have nothing to show for it. So I made a remake of his car.
That's a nice tribute to your brother.
Yeah, it's a Richie Evans chassis. It's a 37 Chevy body that I found out in the woods, and we put it together with flea market and all that stuff parts. And I'll tell you, the car's a dream to drive. Anybody could drive this car.
Now you say anybody. Here we're back. So we had a little audio issues there, but you get the gist of what we're doing. We walked around and I must have sat and chatted with, on camera and some off, probably a dozen drivers and teams that afternoon. And I had said last week, the 49, the original Chris Young, who just passed away, modified that he raced at Isis Speedway. The old Pinto was there, and I verified that, I quantified it, I guess you could say, by the handle that Chris had in the middle, right there on the drive-safe tunnel. And I said to somebody, I said, this is really a Chris Young's car? Or not a Claude? He goes, yeah. I said, well, I've known Chris Young for about 40 years, and any car he's ever owned had a little handle in the drive-shaft tunnel with a hand grip on it. And the guy pointed, he went like that, and there it was. But it was a good day. I'm headed back, I believe, to the New London Waterford Speed Bowl this weekend. Have some super modifieds and things of that nature going on. It's going to be an awesome, awesome show this weekend. So I'll be heading up to the New London Waterford Speed Bowl. Always a nice place to go watch a race. I love that facility. It's come a long way from the first time I went there. The first time I went to the New London Waterford Speed Bowl, I still want to call it Waterford. First time I went, I walked in the pits and I thought I was at Jones Beach, and I watched all the teams unload. And the first thing they took out of the haulers were plywood boards. I'm like, what are they guys? And they made their own ground and 4x8 so they could put the cars on. So it was pretty good. So it was good. I had a good time. And there was a brief little thing of a helicopter, a chopper going, landing. You know, for those of you, maybe I took a helicopter ride that day to get there, or maybe I had to leave and come back. But no, that was the owner. The owner of the facility comes in on a chopper to watch the event. I guess he has other things going on. But also the track's cameraman goes up there, and he was filming the modified race from the chopper. He just he flew up into the backstretch and was watching the races, and I would love to see that footage. Watching this chopper kind of like, wow, this is pretty cool, and land. And I wish I would have got some video of that, because sometimes you got to borrow the helicopter and go take care of business. You know what I mean? But anyway, I'm only kidding. But don't forget, you get an opportunity to go up to the New London Waterford Speed Bowl. Take the trip. It's not that far. It's only maybe a half hour off the ferry out of Orient, New London, and maybe a half hour up. A nice place. And believe it or not, you run into probably half a dozen or so Long Islanders, for those of you that live here on Long Island, which is most of what my chat room consists of right now, other than Tracy, our business operations manager of Bethel Motor Speedway. And she's a transplanted Long Islander, so a lot of Long Islanders going there. And we're going to do a segment on Long Islanders that race off of Long Island. For those who live here know how expensive it is to get off and on this island. That's saying a lot. In fact, we're going to have a guest on our show next week, Brian Doyle, former driver at the Long Island Raceway, who now races at the Wall Stadium down in Wall Township, New Jersey. Races a late model champion, I believe. And right now he's second in the point standings, battling for yet another championship. And he's going to sit and talk to us as to why he travels to go racing, and 3, sometimes 4 hours to take his race car off the island and go racing. But we'll have him on next week. We're looking forward to that. All right, what do we got here? Announcement: Michael Waltrip Racing co-owner Rob Kaufman announced plans to integrate Michael Waltrip Racing and Chip Ganassi Racing, along with Felix Sabatis. Michael Waltrip Racing issues a statement that Michael Waltrip Racing and Chip Ganassi Racing would operate separately and compete against each other for the remainder of the 2015 season. In 2016, Kaufman will be evaluating ways to field the most competitive race teams possible. Right now, Chip Ganassi Racing consists of Jamie McMurray and Kyle Larson, where Michael Waltrip Racing is Clint Boyer and David Reagan. So it should be interesting to see how that pans out, because I have a concern at that level of racing. I have a concern. The owners are drying up. Think about this. And thank you, two-time champ. Think about this. If NASCAR, which they wouldn't do, let's say NASCAR said, one owner, one team, you'd have about 20 cars. Think about that. Think about that. Why is it that way? Why is it dwindling down? Some weeks they barely have their 43 to start the field, and sometimes the 44 or 45 that show up are really backup cars and just giving somebody an opportunity to do some laps. What's changed? See, the Sprint Cup level, as well as the Xfinity level, and to some degree the Camping World Truck Series, have the same issues that the Weekly Racing Series has, and they're not getting the cars that they once got. And years ago, you look in the 60s and 70s, and it was a different era, a different time, but you know what? Everything's relative. Everything's relative. And you think about how many cars used to show up for some of these events, to the point where, you were sending home more than were racing. Just one of those things, just one of those things. And, Pocono, it's all the way up here, and for the teams that are basically housed, or their home base is North Carolina, South Carolina. As WJ, he wants Michael Waltrip to go away. It's funny, and maybe it's not funny. Michael Waltrip was, when Toyota came into the fold, Michael Waltrip was Toyota. He was the first guy, and I could tell you a little story about Daytona, and I could tell you this because I was there and I witnessed this. Michael Waltrip insisted on using his car to qualify. And for those of you who remember this, Michael Waltrip failed inspection post-qualifying because NASCAR wanted him to use the house car. The house car. Because NASCAR needed Toyota to have a good finish. I'm not saying, and please don't misconstrue what I'm doing here, I'm not saying NASCAR is trying to manipulate the outcomes. I'm not saying NASCAR controls the outcomes. All I'm saying is NASCAR said, Michael, use the house car. Michael felt the car that he had at the time was good enough to run up front. NASCAR showed him that it wasn't. And I was there that week, and I was like shaking my head. I was like, wow. And one official who I'd known for a long, long time, who was in the tech garage for the Cup Series at the time, and I said, wow, hey, Michael did really good. He goes, don't count on it. I said, no, look at the pylon. And he goes, no, he's going to be taught a lesson today. And that's where it kind of, I got a lesson in reality. And WJ makes no mistake, him and Michael Waltrip aren't really good buddies. I'm thinking if I was having a party and I had, invited WJ and Michael Waltrip to my place for a party, WJ would, tell me that he probably had to get root canal or something that day because I don't think he wanted to be in the same room as Michael Waltrip. And I don't disagree with WJ. NASCAR, in his opinion, NASCAR sold themselves out to Toyota in 2003, and he hasn't attended a Cup race since. Now, here was my question, and I sat down with some powers to be at NASCAR back in time, and I said, what mode are we running in this thing? Because they don't have a V8. And they looked at me like I was a wacko. And then I said, and I don't know any Toyotas that are, the Camry. I don't know any two-door Camrys. And then a couple of years later, I was at the R&D Center, and they had the stock production car and the race cars for each one, Ford, Chevy, Toyota. And The lines were exactly the same, but that's about where it ended. But anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about an incident that happened in the Valenti Modified Racing Series up at Beach Ridge Speedway in Scarborough, Maine, when we come back.
What's up, guys? We're Scared No Fair, and we're here with Enravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Enravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Enravio.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Russ Weller. We're some of the Proto Men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from Enravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, we're back. Hey, before we get into that Beach Ridge incident, I want to just go over the NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified Tour was at the Bowman Gray Stadium down in North Carolina, and the winner was Danny Bond was the winner with Ryan Preece second from the pole. Jeremy Gersterner was third, Burt Myers fourth, Bobby Meismer Jr. was fifth, Andy Seiss was sixth, Ryan Osborne was seventh, Kyle Ebersol eighth, J.R. Bertuccio ninth, and Jason Myers rounded out the top 10. The Whelen Northern Tour, the Whelen Modified Tour, is off this week. They will be at the Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut this Friday, August 7th. 5 days later, going to Thompson, and then on the 19th, they will be in Bristol. They will have 3 races in 14 days, with Bristol being a long tow for most of the New Englanders and Long Islanders that run the Northern Tour, as they call it. And I got to question that, too. I got to question that type of scheduling, where they'd race a week, then be off 3 or 4, race a week, be off 3 or 4, and then bam, 3 races in 14 days, and one of them being Bristol. And I got to wonder about that. Now, I know NASCAR doesn't really make the schedules. They work in conjunction with the track operators, and when the track operator has a date, or the track operator says, I want to run a tour race on this day, here's my check, they don't want to turn it away. The schedule from, when I first got on the Modified Tour as an official in 2003 full-time, there were 23 or 26 races, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a lot of racetracks that the Tour does not go to anymore. And it's not out of 15 events. And I can remember a high-ranking official in NASCAR having a meeting with myself as race director and our series director, asking us how we felt about the health of the tour and how strong we felt it was. And we were like, yeah, wow, we're good to go, man. It doesn't look any better. And he said, my concern is, guys, and he said, gentlemen, my concern, gentlemen, and I quote, is when like more than half of your races are at 3 racetracks. And, you know, the Stafford Motor Speedway has cut back. The Thompson Motorsports Speed Park has cut back drastically from the 5 races they have now to the 3. There's places that the tour doesn't go to anymore, Beech Ridge being one of them, Holland. I mean, there's just a lot of races that they don't go to. Adirondack, Mansfield, Lake Erie, some of the tracks we went to back then, Seekonk, up here in the Northeast, Wall, Martinsville, I mean, Richmond. You know, what happened to the events at those racetracks? And we always put on a good show there. So, you know, hopefully with the TV package coming, and maybe TV is going to say, hey, guys, you know, let's put a modified race here, let's put a modified race there, and hopefully it happens. Because, you know, I believe in the Whelen Modified Series, Northern and Southern. I believe in them. I believe it's a good series. And now it's become a stepping stone where years ago it was just a bunch of guys from the Northeast who wanted to go racing. And now it's become a stepping stone. A lot of guys and have moved from the modified touring ranks to other series, and the Camping World Truck Series, the Nationwide Series, and you know, even into the Cup. So I'd like to see some of those changes made moving forward. But anyway, here's something that I don't know if you heard about it. Woody Pitkat had himself in position to win Saturday's Valenti Modified Racing Series event at the Beech Ridge Motor Speedway in Scarborough, Maine. Last Saturday, riding out in second place of the second of a twin 50-lapper, he was well on his way to claiming the overall win, because they took your finish from the first one, you finished from the second one, and whoever had the best overall finishes was the overall winner. Well, he was well on his way to claim that. Ride it out in second, boom, it's clinched. Because he had a top 5 in the first one, and he was the only one from that first race that had the top 5, was still in the top 5 in the second one. Well, guess what? Race leader Rich Savory slipped up off turn 2 on the final lap. Pitkat filled the hole Savory left open. Savory, trying to recover, came down on the backstretch. They made contact. Pitkat didn't hit him on purpose. Savory didn't hit him on purpose. You know, when you're out of control and you're up in the marbles and you come down, there's a car there. Happens. All right. Well, in turn 3, Savory spun and lost it, and he was basically out of it at that point. Pitkat recovered and finished second, and though still was going to be the overall winner for the day. However, series officials, in a controversial decision, penalized Pitkat and sent him to the rear of the field for that finish, put him last. Now, that handed the win over to Anthony Nocella, but Pitkat questioned the decision. He was told by the race series director, he was told, read the rule book. He says, well, I'm asking you a question. I said, read the rule book. When the series director was questioned by media, he said, Pitkat violated the AB rule, which is a no-fault rule that penalizes both drivers involved in an incident if a caution flag is waved. Are you kidding? You're kidding. I read the rule. I went and looked at it. I was like, wait a minute. You have incidental contact. You end up all over the place. A caution flag flies, whether it's for dirt on the racetrack, debris, or you got to get somebody out of the way. And both people are penalized and put to the back. Come on. Are you kidding? They call it the no-fault rule. Yeah, we're not blaming either one of you guys, but you're both involved and you're both going to be last. That is the most ridiculous rule I ever heard. And I've heard of some crazy rules, some rules that are made up as you go, some rules that are good for him but not good for him, and some good rules are good for her but not good for him. I'm just saying. So how do you do that? They both went for the same piece of racetrack at the same time, not purposely. Pitkat came off the corner, was holding his line on the backstretch. Savory was up in the marbles, and anybody's ever gone up in the marbles, you're out of control. You can't hit the brakes, you can't steer out of it, you just hold on, and they touched. Savory got a little wobbly, spun in turn 3, pit guy goes on and finishes the race. Are you kidding? I'm going to say it again. Are you kidding? What kind of rule is that? It's obviously a rule that was made by somebody who's never driven a race car. And I'll tell you what, they're going to go in the archives and see this. I do not plan on racing in the MRS series because I won't stand a chance. But think about it. What's the logic here? That's good, hard racing. Nobody deliberately wrecked anybody. That's good, hard racing. And that's fans on their feet, screaming, cheering, whether they were a Pitcat fan, a Savory fan, or Anthony Nocella's a fan and they wanted him to win. That's just good, hard racing. Somebody in their right mind has to take a look at something like that and say, that's a racing incident. You know, yeah, there's some racetracks, if you take somebody out and they got a pit, you go in I've seen it at the Wall Stadium, you go in the infield and you sit there. If that guy don't come out, you go in the pits too. If they feel that it was something that could have been avoided. Now, you know what? When you're traveling 200 feet a second, some things, that's why they call them accidents. That's why. When you're on the gas and you're all out of control and you touch, you might go in the fence and you might spin into the infield. It's racing, right? It's racing. And I got to tell you, when I read that, now, you know, I know both competitors. I know both through the Whelen Modified Tour, both good, hard drivers, clean drivers. I never had an incident in the 13 or so years that I was a tour official. I never had an incident with either one of them. Nice conversations. Both, like I said, both staunch competitors that you know, went into this other series. And a lot of people race in this other series because they feel it's fair. It's a lot less expensive to run. And the rules are a little laxer or leaner, I don't know what word I'm looking for, in regards to safety equipment and cost and buying tires and how many you could buy and whatnot. But when I see a rule like that, the no-fault rule, it's like if you bump somebody, you could be sent to the back, which happened in the race earlier in the year. Somebody bumped somebody, the old bump draft, you're going into the corner, you're side by side. You know what? I'm going to throw you off a little bit. I'm leading the race. I gotta get it low and slow, man, and I gotta throw off your rhythm. So I'm gonna lift maybe half a second before I normally would, because we've been in a rhythm. You and me, we're running 1 and 2. We're in a rhythm. I go into one, I said, no, I gotta throw it off a little bit. I lift a little bit sooner, bam. In the Valenti Modified Series, the guy that bams you, to the back. I think that's ridiculous. I think that's ridiculous. And as Donald says, we need more black and white rules. There shouldn't be judgment rules. Say, well, in my judgment, this is what happened. No, there should be, this is the rule. Do it. Do it. Make the call. Make the call on sound judgment, you know, of what you saw, not because this piece of paper says, well, if this guy spins and this guy goes, they're both, and if they cause a caution, they're both in the back. And I want to ask the question so that, yeah, I'm getting a lot ahead of myself. The Valenti Modified Series is going to be at the Waterford Speed Bowl, London Waterford Speed Bowl this Saturday. I'm going to ask this question. Two guys are racing hard, and they don't touch, but to avoid something maybe that's happening in front of them, they go down in the dirt and they sprinkle rocks and sand and grass on the racetrack and they have to throw a caution. Do they go in the back? I'm going to ask that question. Those of you who know me know I'm going to ask that question. You know? And yet, how do you have, on short track racing, how do you have no contact? It's in the rules. You can't have contact. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? You're kidding. I don't know. I don't know, guys and gals. I don't know. It's racing. Yeah, you don't want it deliberate. So somebody takes you out intentionally, somebody wrecks somebody intentionally, that guy should be put not only in the back of the pack, he should be put in the back of some of the state, because I don't go for that wrecking on purpose nonsense. I don't like that, you know, whether it's in the race or it's some weekly racetracks. I see that after the race, people drive across the racetrack and bam somebody. You know, the guy, and I've seen it happen. The race is over, guy pulls onto the backstretch, he's gonna pull into the pit area. What is the first thing the guy does? He just drove 30 laps and maybe it took a half hour, maybe it took an hour, maybe it took 10 minutes. But you're hot, you're sweaty, you're bothered. What do? Loosen up the belts, take the helmet off, place it down or hook it up, whatever. Then some knucklehead who's ticked off about something that happened on lap 4 goes driving across the racetrack and bams him, hits him, boom, rocks his world. That hurts. And then, the officials say, whoa. One official told me, and I'm not going to say who it was, one official said to me when I saw that, and I questioned it later on, I said, why didn't you record? Well, we didn't see it. Race is over. Why would we be watching the racetrack? No, that's the time that you should be watching. You should be watching the racetrack. And another time I was told, well, it's after the race. What are we supposed to do? The NASCAR Weekly Rulebook clearly states if you intentionally hit another competitor's car, it's 12-4A, accidents detrimental to auto racing. You're looking at fines and/or suspensions, loss of points. And he goes, well, it's not in a race. I said, the rule book doesn't say in a race. It says if any competitor intentionally hits another competitor's car, whether it's pre-race, on the caution, after the race is over, post-race, or in the pit area. That's a call. That's another one of those calls. You got to just make that once, and it makes the other people think a little bit, And where WJ sits high atop turn 1 and 2, he sees this kind of stuff all the time, And at the track he goes to, half the field will be DQ'd if they went with that no contact rule. Yes, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. Anyway, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we'll go over the results of Pocono and Iowa for the Xfinity Series when we come back.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, this is Chris Jake, and if InRavio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
What's up, guys? We're Scano Fair, and we're here with InRavio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hey, we're back. Hey, we got a caller. We got about 10, 11 minutes left. We got a caller on the line, DJ from Connecticut. DJ, you out there? I'm not hearing DJ. We might have lost him. See if he's still there. Yeah, we might have lost DJ. But anyway, the Xfinity Series was out in Iowa. Rusty Wallace's track out in the middle of the cornfields in Iowa. Ryan Blaney was the winner. Regan Smith was second. Brian Scott third. Ty Dillon was fourth. And Brendan Gaughan was fifth. In sixth was Daniel Suarez, who had the pole. Eric Jones seventh. Elliott Sadler eighth. Chase Elliott ninth. And Ross Chaston rounding out the top 10. The Camping World Truck Series was at Pocono. And this weekend and Saturday, Kyle Busch was the winner with Kevin Harvick second. Tyler Reddick third. Cameron Haley fourth. Austin Dillon was fifth. Johnny Sauter was sixth. Timothy Peters seventh. Matt Tifft eighth. Daniel Hemrick, 9th, and Eric Jones finished 10th from the pole. Similar crash in the truck race with the pit road situation. And earlier in the chat room, WJ reminded us that that's not a concrete wall, it's a steel wall. And that's why it took 20 minutes to fix. They had welders there and putting new plate steel on. But there was twice in one weekend similar crashes, and I haven't had that in a while. In the Cup race, I'm going to call this the race that everybody ran out of gas. Matt Kenseth was first, Brad Keselowski second, Jeff Gordon third, Dale Earnhardt Jr. fourth after being penalized and running in the back most of the day. Greg Biffle was fifth, Jimmy Johnson sixth, A.J. Allmendinger seventh, Clint Boy was eighth, Tony Stewart ninth, Carl Edwards rounding out the top 10. Kyle Busch was on the pole. He finished 21st, but was leading when the white flag dropped after, well, after the guy in front of him, Joey Logano, ran out of gas. Kyle Busch is, again, from the pole, ended up 21st. But Kenseth's win was his first, and fueled by Joe Gibbs' teammate Kyle Busch's running out of gas 1/2 mile through the final lap on the tunnel turn, causing Kenseth to make the win. Didn't think he was going to win, but there he was, 2.5 miles. And in the 2.5 laps from the track there, from the end, I should say, was when Joey Logano ran out of gas, putting Kyle Busch in a position to win. Busch took the lead when Joey Logano ran out of gas with less than 3 laps to go. Busch's 21st place finish now puts him 13 points behind 30th place winner David Gilliland. And one of the deals when he came back, the arrangement that NASCAR made was if he could be in the top 30 with a win, they'll put him in the chase. Well, he's right there. He's knocking at the door. He's knocking at the door. And I'll tell you what, Joe Gibbs Racing this season, I believe they have 8 wins this year. And I believe that they have what it takes to put their entire team in the chase moving forward. So it should be interesting to see how that all pans out. So, we're winding down, and I believe that Watkins Glen will be the next stop for the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series, where the trucks will be in Michigan on the 15th of August. Watkins Glen road course up in New York State, up in wine country. If you've ever seen a race on a road course similar to like Sonoma, but I'll tell you what, I worked Watkins Glen, and my position was a spotter, in the spotter stand at what they called the bus stop. And I remember when they said that, when I looked at the assignment sheet, it said to me, bus stop, and I thought they were telling me I was fired, I had to go home. So I said, where's the bus stop? So everybody joked with me because I didn't know. I really didn't watch races from Watkins Glen or go to races. So there I was, high atop, the racetrack, and my job was to make sure the field was in order coming through there, and when the caution car put its lights out, I would call up to the tower and it'd say 1 to go at the line because it's such a far distance to go around. And any teams that blew that little, when they come and you make a right, a left, and a left and a right, if they blew that, the next time around they had to stop and then go slowly to the next one and then go. That's why they call it the bus stop. So I had a good time when I worked that event. Another one of those ones, I worked the Spring Cup Series race, and I was like, wow. But you watch the fans, and in the front stretch is a bunch of seats, and there's seats scattered here and there. But the fans would come, and they come early in the day, and they put out their blankets and their little chairs and their picnic baskets and their wine and cheese and sit there to enjoy the show. And it's just one of those things that, that's what racing was all about. Years ago, they dug racetracks out of these foothills and the old cornfields, and the families came and they put their blankets out and they just made it happen, and they made a day out of it. And it was a family day. And that's what it was all about. But if you're ever up that way, man, go up there and check it out once. It's not like going to Bristol where you're seeing every car, every lap, every corner, every straightaway. You're going to see what's going on in front of you. You're going to see what's going on way over there. You're going to see what's way over there. And if you position yourself right, you'll see a good portion of the race. So it's all good. But, going back with the chat room, saying that watching all these teams run again, Tony Stewart ran out of gas. It was just, and I was letting them. I was listening to Logano on the scanner, and I knew he was close. I knew he was close with about 6 or 7 laps to go because the pit window, going back to Pocono, the pit window was like 34 laps. Some did 32, some did 35. But Logano was like around lap 37, and they all rolled the dice. There's going to be a caution. There's going to be a caution. And because there were so many cautions in our first part of the race, because guys decided they're going to go into turn 1, 3, and 4 wide, and it doesn't work there. You know, and it was just a wreck fest in the beginning. I was like, this race is taking forever. It's going to end 7 o'clock tonight. But and then there were some issues on Denny Hamlin. I was listening to him too, and Denny Hamlin had transmission problems. He had no third gear, so he had to go from second to fourth. And you know, and you go through the tunnel turn up in the turn 2 there. You know, you got a downshift, so he's going from fourth to second, and at that point he wasn't shifting at all. It saved the transmission. And then as the guys were starting to run out of gas, they were turning their engines off. Because you got to roll through the corners. You got to roll through the corners, and you know they'd shut their engines off. They'd hit the switch. They'd hit the interrupt, and then you know, when they got to where they had to get on the gas again, they'd fire it back up, and then you would see them doing this to their cars, and then they're moving them, and you know they were trying to get gas and you know use that leg that little bit to get it to the pickup tube. So, but it was a good race at the end, in my opinion. People are on their feet. And the announcers, there was 3 announcers spread out around the track, and you would hear them, you know, he shut his car off, no, it's back on. And they made the race exciting, more exciting than maybe I actually was. And I became like a little bit of a race fan that day because I was into it. You know, I'm not usually one that's standing on my seat, you know, yeah, cheering things on. And, you know, and I'm not a big Kyle Busch fan, but, you know, what he's done since his injury, my hat's off to him. And if he would have gone out and won that race again, man, I'll tell you, that would have been something else. Again, the guy got injured. He's not 100%. And you know, in talking to him, you know, he had a broken leg on one side and a broken foot on the other side, and it's not like he could lean on one or the other to get through. He went through some tough times in physical therapy to make it happen. So, anyway, sorry we missed out on DJ. DJ was scheduled to be my crew chief on the Whelen Modified Tour. DJ is since his accident has not been involved with auto racing. For those who don't remember, he had a head-on collision and there was a fatality involved at that race, and so he couldn't move, you know, help out. And he's moving south, and he's gonna try his luck down there. So I only want to wish DJ very, very, very well. Anyway, we got to wrap up. The clock is ticking. So I want to thank everybody for being a part of the show tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules. And WJ, it's good to see that you're feeling better today. Anyway, this week, wherever you're going, whether it's your local track, cup race, wherever it is, a tour race, or just some track in your neighborhood, be safe, have a great time, give somebody a hug, tell them you love them. God bless you all, and we'll see you next week.